What are the ingredients of a good marriage? First of all, when you talk about marriage, we are talking about a man and a woman committing to live together for life. That's what marriage is. Marriage is not come we stay and then come we live. Marriage is a commitment for life. But it's possible to be committed for life, but you don't enjoy the relationship. So here we want to discuss what are ingredients that help you not to just stay together for life, but to enjoy staying together for life. Ingredients of a good marriage. And it will be important to discuss this before you are married, but it's also important even during marriage to keep reviewing how these ingredients are operating within your life and how they are helping one another. I must say, of course, it doesn't mean that only married people are happy, but some of these ingredients are also useful for single people if they are going to relate with others, because being single does not mean you don't relate with people. It just means you are not committed to any particular person for life, and you do not intend to enjoy sex with them, because you can't be single and enjoy sex. If you do so, the scriptures say you are sinning. So, but you can relate with other people even when you are single, and these principles would still be principles that would actually be useful for you. I think if you are going to have a good relationship, the first ingredient is a common definition of marriage. You must agree what marriage is all about. You know, you come into marriage and for different reasons. I've written a book called Finding a Life Partner. And one of the chapters, because the book is addressed to young people, I'm trying to give various types of reasons why people get married. And you can get married for one reason, and your spouse gets married for a different reason. When you finally come into marriage, both of you will be frustrating each other, because they will discover what matters to one is not what matters to the other person. And it can create quite some challenge in living out this marriage. So the first thing, if you are single, don't get into marriage until you find out what's the definition of marriage according to your spouse. What does it actually mean? You know, I've written recently a book on marriage, Christian or traditional, because the two are totally different. If you have a traditional marriage, then you need to understand clearly when your husband wants to marry a second wife, you shouldn't be saying no, because by entering traditional marriage, you should have understood you are just one of the many wives he's likely to have. If you enter into Christian marriage, if you try to get another wife, it's called bigamy, and you'll be prosecuted in a court of law as a criminal. So it's very important right from the beginning to agree. And I've been involved in counseling a marriage where the husband wants to get a second wife and the wife is saying no. And then they are both claiming to be Christian. So I told them, what does the scripture allow you? How would you be? So he said, no. I'm going to continue to love my wife. The fact that I'll get a second one does not mean I will not love the first one. And of course, the first one, they say, no, I'm a Christian marriage. I didn't expect to get anyone in addition. So it's important to understand many of the problems that come is because we have gotten into this thing without a common definition. Even if you have been married for 20 years, it may be good to just have a retreat with the two of you and ask, what do we mean by a marriage? What's our understanding of marriage? And if there are differences, debate them until you agree. This was used to be your definition. This used to be my definition. Our common definition now is this. It's because if you don't have a common definition for marriage, rest assured, somewhere along the way, if the Lord gives you a 50 years of marriage, something somewhere will make the difference in definitions pop up, and you create a problem. So it is very important if you're going to have a good marriage, to have a common understanding of what marriage is all about. in Genesis chapter 2, verse 25, we read, Adam and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. That's the understanding of what marriage is. Marriage is oneness, coming together, as far as Adam and Eve were concerned. And there was nothing to hide from one another. That's what it was. But let me clearly say that here the important thing is you are in agreement on what marriage is. If what you want is a Christian marriage, I've tried to, in my book on marriage, Christian or traditional, I've tried to define my understanding of what a Christian marriage looks like according to the Bible. But there are several of those ingredients. Number one, a Christian marriage is for life. Number two, a Christian marriage is between a husband and a wife, a man and a woman. And number three, a Christian marriage does not involve any third parties. You cannot. It's monogamous. You can't have sex outside of your marriage, and we can go on. But what I'm saying is that once we are clear what our marriage is all about, then it will be easier for me to live within it and not surprise my spouse and not do things that will make my spouse think that what we are doing is actually wrong. So, do you agree? Of course, if you're in a traditional marriage, again, you find people that look happy. They are co-wives and they look happy. Although in my vernacular they say several wives are like several pots of poison. But if all the three of you, to the husband and the two wives, are in agreement with a common definition of marriage, basically you entered into it knowing you are going to share your husband with another woman. You can be reasonably happy within it. So the critical thing is up front or somewhere before you go on, agree. Not the husband's definition, not the wife's definition. What is your common definition of what a marriage is? That will help you to enjoy your marriage. It's a very important ingredient if you want a happy marriage. But I think I've really introduced the second ingredient. The second ingredient is transparency. The moment you allow me to have conspiracy theories about why you came late for work, last week you are late every day, so I have to imagine why you are coming late. Are you having a concubine somewhere, some dogo somewhere? The moment there is lack of transparency, what otherwise was previously a very joyful marriage will have problem, because you have no idea. Once I start having conspiracy theories, you have no idea which one I'll come up with. I may think you want to kill me, and so I will not be free with you in bed, and I will try even to go to sleep in another bedroom because I'm afraid once I become suspicious. Transparency in marriage is a very, very critical ingredient if you are going to enjoy time together. You know, when you are out there with your enemies, you are very defensive. You can laugh, but you are very careful what you do and how you do it. But when you are with your friends, you are able to, you don't have to wear a tie, you don't have to look in a special way, you are yourself. And that's what relaxes you, and you are joyful, you are happy. And that's what marriage is all about. You're supposed to be naked before your spouse so that you no longer have anything to cover up. Matthew chapter 19, verse 5 and 6 says, and said, for this reason, this is Jesus talking, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. You know, these people that are together, you can't say if you are one, you can't start hiding. What would you be hiding? The leg does not hide anything from the mouth. The mouth does not hide anything from the leg, from the hand. We are one body. And that's where transparency comes out. In fact, in Genesis, we read Genesis 2:25. Adam and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. So transparency will be something that is very important. However, this nakedness is only possible if you trust each other. If I think that if I'm naked before you, you are going to tell people that my back has some funny scar and everybody will know about it, and I've been covering it up all my growing years, I will not become naked ever before you because I don't trust you. The moment you lack trust, that's no longer a good marriage at all. But of course, to be trusted, you need to be trustworthy. And to be trustworthy is hard work. It means that you have to be vulnerable. That you are giving me, you're opening up to me, but I could actually destroy you. I could actually do things that would harm you. But you trust me enough to take that risk. Now, the person wants to be trusted. Once I've taken the risk, you must treat me so well that even next time I'll be even more naked, because I no longer fear you at all. The moments I can be totally naked before you without fearing any risk, then you also do the same. That will be what marriage was all meant about. That's marriage made in heaven. But the moment there is something I'm fearing about you, I'm suspicious about you, then something will not be right. So what are we saying? That transparency is a very critical, very, very critical ingredient of whether you are going to have a good marriage or not. It will be very, very important that you understand clearly that that if you really want to enjoy your marriage, take the risk. Take the risk. Don't assume that your spouse is not trustworthy. Take the risk and see what will actually happen. And what will happen is that when you discover that this is a person you can trust, you'll start becoming more and more open. And the more and more open, the more you are going to see the other person also becoming open. Because trust begets trust. So as trust grows in this relationship, the more you enjoy each other. It means that if you have something disturbing you, you can open it up even before you prepare a dossier. You don't have to be clear in your mind, because you know the person will help you and there's no risk you're actually taking. It means that if there is something you are planning in your mind and you don't know whether it will succeed, you can share with them, because you don't expect them later to laugh. How come you had thought about that? What a fool you are. No. You are at peace with them. You can trust them. And because you can trust them, there's going to be a lot of good that will come out of it. So what are we saying? That if you don't have transparency, you condemn your marriage, you condemn your relationship to have a challenge. Of course, the best time would be way before you are married, when you are dating. Test, give information, and see. Be a little vulnerable and see whether the person will be trusted. The moment you realize you cannot trust the person, then don't go into marriage. Because you can't go into marriage with somebody you don't trust. You are condemning yourself into an unhappy, long relationship. Because the trouble is, once you enter, you must stay until life, however difficult that is. And yet, transparency is one of the most critical issues that will help to make your marriage be a happy marriage. You still can have a marriage even without transparency, but that's more of a business than what was meant to be for marriage. The third ingredient is willingness to lose yourself, lose your identity for the sake of the combined identity. Here, that's why people want to be together. There are people getting married and don't want to use one name. Unless you have such a culture, the moment you retain your maiden name, you pass on a message. I am so happy with my previous identity. I do not want a new identity. I think it's critical that you understand this meaning of having a common willingness to lose your self-identity for the sake of the combined identity. It is a very, 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 very important thing. Because you see, once you see yourself as one, it means what happens to your spouse will happen to you. It means if something good happens to them, it has happened to you. Once you have a combined identity, you cheer up each other, you celebrate one another. There is no competition in that relationship. You know, even among siblings, there's what we call sibling rivalry. In a marriage, there is no rivalry because you have now a common identity. So that's really, I'm not suggesting that these ingredients are easy to have. I'm only saying when they are there, you are assured of a marriage that will certainly be one you can enjoy and live with. You know, there's a Kikuyu saying, and my wife was told that when my wife got married and we went to my village, one of my old women friends told my wife, you know, because after I got married, I didn't go to the village that often. So when I went, the woman told my wife, hey, koika nitagukua, na koikania nitakuoja. In English, when a woman gets married, it's like she has died. You no longer know where she is. When a man marries, it's like he has become a cripple. That's basically the Kikuyu definition of a marriage where the girl has grown up in this village. She was part of the village scenery. She gets married, and for the next 5 years, you have no idea whether is she alive, did she die? She has gone to a new place and become part of the new place. Hey, when you get married, it's like for all practical purposes, for the people you grew up with, it's like you have died. You are no longer available to them. But then some women don't want that. Some women don't want to lose their original identity. The more you fight to keep your original identity, that means you want to be called with your father, you want to be constantly in your mother's place, you want to always compare where you went and where you come from. You are not building a new identity. Rest assured, whenever you come back to the marriage, you come disappointed, feeling I got a road deal, the new identity is not worth having it. I was much happier where I was. A woman who wants to enjoy her marriage must agree to die to her past. But you see, the man is the same. According to this Kikuyu saying, even a man who ran everywhere, was hunting for girls, doing all kinds of things. The moment you are married, you zero grace with your wife. It's like you have become a cripple who can't go. You no longer are free to run everywhere. So if you want to be a husband and you still are free to run around, you are free to do whatever you want, it will be difficult for you to have a joyful marriage. You know, somebody asked me in a marriage seminar, single people were asking me, if I marry, will my husband interfere with my career? The answer is yes. You cannot get a posting as a man to go to become our ambassador in Japan, and you live without your wife's permission. If she can see that the whole deal is going to cause more heartache to the family, to the wife, to the children, you may have to say no to the appointment. So you do not have the freedom you had before marriage. And nobody is forcing you. It's voluntary. It's a voluntary willingness to have a new identity, not to lose the freedom. You are a willing cripple. You have given yourself the freedom to be guided by your spouse, to discuss with your spouse and make decisions together. So that whatever, any major decision you decide is not made by the wife alone, it's not made by the husband alone, it is made by both of them. That's what I'm calling willingness to lose self-identity for the sake of the new combined identity. Don't insist on your own. You want the ngangas to be known rather than or the wife or the husband. We have now a common identity. We think similarly, we move similarly, we have a common destiny, we are working together. The moment we realize that we now have common identity, we'll fight for it. We enjoy it. We are proud about it. And that will be something that will be very, very important. So this willingness to lose your identity is a very, very important ingredient if you are going to enjoy your marriage. Next, you need to be willing to lose authority over your assets. What you owned as a single person must all be handed over to the joint identity. And that is both for the wife and the husband. And the Anglican wedding, which I had, makes both people swear, I have given you all my worldly possessions. The wife says it, the husband says it. That means from then onwards, there's no poor husband and rich wife, or rich wife and poor husband, because everything the wife owns, the husband also owns. Everything the one spouse owns, the other spouse owns it. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 4 says, the wife does not have authority over her own body, but uses it to her husband. In the same way, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but uses it to his wife. That means the assets you bring into the relationship is now no longer yours, belongs to the other party. Can you imagine this? Leave alone now the assets which you can lose and gain more. Your own body, the scriptures is saying, you must surrender it to your spouse. That means you don't not just have sex when you want to. You have a sex when you have sex when your spouse needs it. You don't go into as the sex act just to enjoy yourself. You go to the sex act to make the other person enjoy, because your body now belongs to the other person. What a marriage that would be, where people no longer are looking to their assets. They have now surrendered their assets to the other person, where you're no longer looking at your own welfare. You have entered into marriage and all you are taken up with is, how can I make it better for my husband? How can I make the life of my spouse better? So you are living no longer for yourself. You are living for the good of your spouse. In the Old Testament, people had very long honeymoon. Even if war came, the Bible says, the boy who was just married could not be involved in war. He was going 1 year honeymoon. And the reason is given in the Bible, to please his wife. That means you spend a whole year just making your wife happy, just looking after her. And I believe that similarly, she's also looking after you. That's what the secret of a good marriage is, ability to lose authority over your own assets. It's true, they are yours, but you have deliberately, freely, voluntarily handed over them to your spouse. That's why you cannot make a decision. You can't say, but this is my job. I am the lawyer here. No. You now cannot do your legal business without your wife's input, although she's not a lawyer. It's your asset, but you are willingly surrendering it on to others. Again, I repeat, I'm not suggesting it's easy. All I'm saying is that if you want a good marriage, you need to lose authority over what you previously called your own. Everything must be jointly owned, including your body. Then, another ingredient is you must have a common family mission and values. In other words, the two of you must agree what you want to achieve as a marriage. What do you see as your vision? Vision is what you are living to achieve. What is it? You must agree. Number two, you must agree the family mission. The family vision, the family mission. How will you achieve that vision? Is the answer. The answer is called mission. Then, number three, you must have agreed core values. Non-negotiable convictions. These are not debatable. In this family, these are our values. We don't break them. You break them at your own peril. Those must be agreed. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 to 12 says, two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie together, down together, they'll keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Here we are learning that if you want a good marriage, you must be like a cord of 3 strands. God is the third cord, and you are 2 cords. You are working together. And if that's what you have decided, then the 2 will be better than 1. That's where you bring synergy. Because you have a common vision, you're working for the same vision and mission, you end up producing more. It also means when one of them fails, the other one will lift him up. Verse 10, Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 10. Because if you fail and you are alone, there will be marriage helps to achieve much more, because when this one is down, this one is up. When this one is discouraged, the other one can encourage him. And it means you are also warm. The challenges of life, the coldness of life, you can deal with. Because he's saying 2 lie together and you'll be warm. And it means also, verse 12, if there is an enemy, you combine together to fight one another. Your wife's enemy are now your enemy. Your husband's enemy are now your enemy. So though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. That's really what you're going to be. Having common vision, mission, and values. Therefore, working towards the same goal. And finally, this one is obvious. Friendship is a major ingredient, an important ingredient. And it's actually part of what we saw earlier. Romans 12 says, do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, it is mine to avenge, I will repay, says the Lord. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not overcome evil. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with the good. What are we learning? True friends, even if the friend does something wrong, they look for an excuse. That's why it's an enemy whom you feed. Even when he is thirsty, this spouse has just done something wrong to you, but they are now thirsty. You are the first one to give them something to drink. And they are saying, because of this interest in friendship, even if one annoys you, if you continue loving them, it's like you are heaping coals of fire on their head. It will finally burn them, and the relationship will be back to normal. That means even if there are things threatening your relationship, they'll be sorted out. Do not be overcome by evil. Whatever your spouse does should not cause you to give up. You know, what we are learning, for this friendship to happen, you need good communication skills. It will be important you know how to communicate clearly. Number 2, you must relate well. Interpersonal relationship. Having the right belief, the right attitude, and therefore the right behavior. This friendship is a very important ingredient. I've written a book on friendship, because for sure, if you have friends, if you are not friends in a marriage, you will not enjoy it. It will not work well with it will not be a relationship worth it. So, if you want a good marriage, have an agreed definition of marriage. Be both transparent. Be willing to lose yourself, your identity, for the sake of a common identity. Lose authority over your own assets. Don't have this mine, this his. It will create a problem in your marriage. Have an agreed family vision, mission, and core values. And then finally, relate well as friends. Choose that your closest friends, that's why they are called next of kin, must be your spouse. That's what, if your spouse discovers that other people are closer to you, they are the ones who give your secrets, it will interfere with your own marriage. May the Lord help us to truly be friends and therefore have this kind of marriage that we are going to enjoy being in for life.